Hi everyone, Navik here. We're back to covering in Cody Ziglar's Miles Morales Spider-Man book. So this is a quick catch-up video. Well, I say quick. We got a lot to cover with Miles Morales. That's because, yeah, his book tends to move a bit faster than the other books. So, for those who need to catch up, basically after his trip to Wakanda, Miles is cured of his vampirism, which left over for the Blood Hunt event. But now he apparently earned the quote-unquote favor of the African spider god Anansi, claiming Miles as his avatar, but as we'll see later, this is kind of a Nazi playing the long game. Then he had a whole thing, and then Miles had a whole ass crossover with the Deadpool book, which Cody Ziglar was also writing, and honestly, it was a fun crossover. It had the hallmarks of a classic superhero crossover, the heroes trusting each other because influence of an outside villain, some good quips, and of course continuing to develop the story between both the Deadpool cast, which can't really go into detail because I haven't followed the Deadpool book. I only picked up the issues for this crossover. But of course, continuing in the story and development of Miles' the supporting cast and his thing. Jaime basically, well, okay, it's a bit of a spoiler, but Schiff decided to actually form his own identity away, separate from being Miles' clone, taking on the name Jaime Reyes. Yes, learning how to shapeshift and maintain a human form better. And Agent Gal got selected by Ares to be his avatar, giving her kind of semi-demigod powers. Yeah, you might be thinking, a lot of gods and mythology and stuff in the Miles book, but yeah, this actually does go somewhere with the current story arc God War. And before we go into it, I do want to highlight that, yeah, again, this book is awesome. Because of the writing and the character work is some of the most consistently great stuff Marvel's got on the shelf. But the art continues to be kind of a double-edged sword for me. Not to say any of the art is bad. It's not. But you can tell it by Marco Renna's artwork that he is trying to kind of ape Federico. Let me just see. It's been a while since I said his name. Federico Vincentini. And yeah, on the one hand, it gives the book an overall somewhat consistent stylized look to it, but I can't. But what reason why I kind of brought up is that you've seen in like some of the villain issues for Hyde Street and Absolute Wonder Woman, their artists were able to basically make those arcs feel unique. And honestly, I think that each art should feel unique instead of just trying to ape the most popular artist for the run. But as for what this story arc is, aside from this story arc is basically, well, it continues to show the influence it's shown in anime has had on Cody Ziglar, because because after a series of events where Zip Zephyr, or sort of a Greek demigod like villain that Miles has, that usually is kind of a joke character, but he's been boosted by Ares. We kind of see, and by Ares, we kind of see that this is actually leading up to a massive tournament arc, and unfortunately, it's not just. And basically, Anansi and Ares have kind of an ancient grudge that they want to settle via the combat through their champions, and which includes Agent Gal as Warcry. And unfortunately, for everyone else, Miles ends up accidentally dragging some of his friends, including Jaime, Gust, who was close to Jaime at the time, and Dr. Quan, his therapist. So yeah. And Ares, of course, gets a few other demigods, which leads to a tournament arc. The first thing is Polymius versus versus Dr. Quan, on who it's been confirmed that she is actually sort of related to Doc Samson, but yeah, as the issue ends, we kind of learn that she has a bit more in common with him than we thought. Since she basically hulks out. And yeah, issue 34, basically, we learn about what Dr. Quan's deal is. Essentially, her mother was working too close to a gamma reactor, and this is kind of her gamma-powered alter ego power lift. And in this form, she is braggadocious, she's cocky, and of course, a lot more fight happy. happy. And yeah, Dr. Kwan doesn't really like being in this form, but hey, I'm a guy who likes badass buff babes, so I ain't complaining. And yeah, she ends up wiping the floor and winning the first and winning the first round of this like battle of the gods. Next, we got a team up where Miles and Gust are forced to team up against up against two other demigods, including Zephyr. And yeah, they end up being transported to another plane, and where the fight continues, and they kind of repeat one of the mighty feats of Hercules. And Miles' vibranium suit ends up getting torn up like crazy, torn up a bit, and he actually ends up teaming up with Zephyr a bit. It kind of forming kind of a mutual understanding. But as we later learn that all of this, Anasi getting Miles involved in stuff, it really is just, it actually ties back into the fable of Arachne. So, yeah, that's actually something really cool about this story arc. It is something that can only happen if it is basically like a comic book superhero universe like Marvel and DC, where you have the gods of various different pantheons being real and their legends intersect. And yeah, issue 35, part 4 of the God War story arc, basically he shows why Arachne and Ares have a beef, because Ares is the one who told Athena about Arachne, a woman who was so good at weaving she claimed that she was better than Athena. And yeah, if you know anything, the Greek gods are petty bitches. So yeah, this ended up causing a big beef between the gods of Africa and the Greek gods, which unfortunately their sky fathers, and which is basically the term that Marvel uses for like the rulers of any pantheon, on Zeus, Odin, and of course Buluku, who they basically founded a truce so that the gods can't fight directly unless except through some like kind of a manipulation, which yeah, that's why Anasi and Ares have been kind of acting behind the scenes of this book so that they have an excuse to actually duke it out. And yeah, Anasi and Ares end up having a big brawl. Oh, that's really bombastic, and yeah, this issue Miles kind of feels like a bit of an afterthought, but no, Ares figured out a way to make this all personal for Miles again, because for the final all-out brawl, basically everyone versus Ares, he transports them to the outside of Brooklyn Visions Academy, Miles' school, surrounded by all civilians, and as the last full-body Olympian, Ares declares himself as Skyfather and gets a new form. So yeah, things go from bad to worse. So yeah, Cody Ziglar's Miles Morales Spider-Man. I've said it multiple times. It's one of the best books on the shelf. Despite my issues sometimes with the art and sometimes with it going into crossovers like a bit early in its run. But now that it's actually about 35 issues in, I think Cody Ziglar and Co. have established a really good base for the storyline, and I really do hope this continues through up to issue 50 or even a bit past that. And so yeah, again, you want a really good Spider-Man book, Miles Morales Spider-Man has got you covered. And I'll be sure to cover any new issue that comes out. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.